Okay, let me just close this. I've got a blind behind here. Hold on. Fuck. Okay, hello everyone. Now, if there's going to be any time you're going to actually have to pay attention to one of my videos, this is the one to do it. Because what we're going to talk about today is very, 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 very important. So important that it could probably make or break your music career if you're going to try to get one. And what I'm talking about is mono. Making your music in mono. Not so much making, but more or less mixing, sometimes even mastering in mono. Now I understand that some of you are not going to know what that is, and that's completely fine because I didn't really get it. It took me about 4 months of my first year of studying last year. 4 months into the course, then I finally sort of understood what mono and stereo was. To some people it's not going to be hard to understand, but for me it was. I don't know why, but it was. I'm going to even have a translation in Spanish for my friends who can understand and stuff in Spanish, can read and understand things in Spanish easier, because this is very important, so you all need to understand what's going on. Now, why mono when, yes, if you do, let's just say like a famous DJ plays your track, he's going to be playing it in stereo, obviously out to a crowd. But mono is your phone. Most people these days are listening to your stuff off their phone, through SoundCloud, through YouTube, whatever it could be. They're streaming it off their phone first. So if it sounds shit on their phone, they're not going to keep listening to your music, or to that song in particular. Why do you think when you listen to a Panda Eyes song or a Virtual Riot song and you're laying in bed at night and you see them upload a clip or they drop a song and it still sounds amazing? Because your phone's in mono and they're mixing in mono. I only did this for the first time, and I don't know why, with my last song, Puzzle Piece. I mixed the whole thing in mono. I even did some mastering in mono for it, and on my phone it sounds fucking awesome. Don't get me wrong, not to a professional standard, but like Panda Eyes and stuff, I still got a lot to practice and to learn about that. But it sounds better than all my other stuff. Because my stuff sounds amazing on my computer speakers, which everyone's accustomed to their own studio. But when I listen to my stuff on my phone, it's a big disappointment. Like, I can hear all the sound effects too loud. The high end sounds like it's going to crack my speakerphone, stuff like that. Yeah, so how do you go about this? So the best thing I can tell you, the best tip I have, is make your song in stereo. So make your dubstep growls, make your synths, make your pianos, make all that in stereo. But when you start to mix, change it to mono. How do you do that? Well, I've got this is an old project of mine that I started maybe 2 years ago when I first started making music. It's a cute little project, but let's just take a listen to it. I've got a really annoying synth in it. I'm really sorry, but I used to just work on one pattern and shit. It's so cute. Okay, so let's just have a quick little listen to it in stereo. This is in stereo. So stereo means stereo separation. So 2 speakers means stereo. So it's like as if you're listening to it in real life. One left ear, one right ear. That's what stereo is. Mono is in the center. So that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of things are forced to get collapsed into mono. So your phones, shop speakers, when you're walking through the store listening, they've got a little song playing in the background while you shop. That's in mono. Your car stereo, even though the speakers everywhere, it's mono. That's why, what do you think when you do the car test, your music sounds like shit? I was doing that for a long time until I completely stopped doing the car test, because I realized it's quite silly, because no one's going to listen to your song in the car and judge it in the car. They're either going to be listening to it on huge speakers or on their phone. And why is it important? Because if your mix sounds good in mono, then it's obviously going to sound good in stereo. Okay? And I don't mean that to a T, but 99% of the time there might be some adjustments, but if it's good in mono, it's going to be good in stereo. So we are very lucky in FL Studio. We can... Here, actually, I'll play some of this first. Just take a listen. Okay, we are very lucky in FL Studio. We have this thing at the master right here. It's called, if you put your mouse over it up here, it says stereo separation. So with it like that, it's in stereo. If you come all the way to the left, I don't know what the hell that is. I think that's stereo pushed even more wider, maybe. But if you come all the way to the right, we are in mono. So we are very, very lucky. So what you can do is you can, so example, let's just say I've made this, okay, I'm happy, I've made my drop, I've made the first half of my drop, and now I want to start mixing. I advise you to switch this all the way to the right, so now you are in mono, and then start mixing. Straight away you can hear it sounds different. It's collapsed into the middle. It sounds very empty, very small. And the thing that's going to be very hard, which I found difficult to do for puzzle piece, is I made all the drop in my song. I was completely happy with it, but once I collapsed it to mono, it was a disaster. Everything was horrible. My super saw chords were, I had these big layered stacks, and my super saws turned into thin little crispy fucking chips, like, you know what I mean? My piano sounded like shit. I think there's a piano in that, can't remember. It sounded like crap. Everything just disappears, because when you're mixing in stereo, everything's pushed out wide. You're trying to accumulate for the stereo field, and that all disappears when you collapse it to mono. So what you could even do to save you the disappointment is, so example, you could even make just an intro. You can work on your intro, and then bang, alright, my intro's done, let's have a listen to it in mono. So we'll be here, bang, and you have a listen. So this song actually doesn't sound too bad in mono. So then once again, I now had to do my mix now. Make my changes accordingly when it's in mono. And like I said, if you want to make a new sound, change it back to stereo, go back to mono when you want to mix. Now this is the way I do it, and these are only for the people who have Ozone 7. I'm sorry if you don't have Ozone, but the only thing you could do is this little knob, bring it all the way to the left. Then do your mix, but also don't forget to bounce out your song back in stereo. My first master of puzzle piece, I couldn't understand why it sounded so bad, and then when I went back into the project, I realized I had left it in mono. You want to export in stereo, because then what is happening is your mix, if it sounds good in stereo and in mono, when someone listens, if you're going to send it to a label and they listen to it on their studio monitors, obviously it's in stereo, it's going to sound amazing, they're happy, you're happy, you get a feature, whatever, all good. But if someone then listens to it on their phone, what happens is the mix you had in mono is the mix that they're going to hear, because the stereo signal of your song is going to get collapsed into mono once it starts playing through the phone. So do you understand what I'm trying to say? You're trying to keep both customers happy. So the people who listen to it on your phone, you want to impress them, and then you also want to impress the people who are listening to your song on speakers. So now, here's what you do for people who have Ozone. So now, what I do is when I start a song, first thing I do, and people have different opinions on doing this to your master, but I now grab my Ozone 7, bang, straight on the master. Don't do nothing. This has already given a little bit of compression to your song, so it's going to keep your song nice and clean, and you should not peak. Okay, that's what you want. No peaking, you don't have to worry about that. Bang, I then start making my song. Okay, I'm ready to mix. Ozone 7 has this big button right here that says mono. All you got to do, give it a click. Now, make your mix. You can adjust some things, you know what I mean? Do some fucking EQing, do some side EQing, dynamics, all that kind of cool stuff. But just mix. Well, it's pretty easy actually. All you gotta do is now mix with this button clicked in. And every now and then go back to stereo, have a listen, check how it's sounding, go back into mono. We'll go to the drop, see how that sounds. See? Yeah, there you go, man. That's honestly really all I have to say about that. Just it's going to get hard to get used to mixing like that, because everything's going to sound like crap. That's the complete truth. But if you can get used to doing that, you're going to make amazing mixes, and good music, really. This is not just dubstep either. This is house, this is deep house, this is even if you're just singing with a guitar, you're doing vocals. At the end of the day, your mix, if you've got a good mix, your master, you don't have to do that much. Really, you don't. Like, I know people say, oh man, mastering, man, you gotta spend fucking 4 or 5 hours or 2 sessions trying to master the song. Like, you can do that, it's fair enough. But honestly, I mastered Puzzle Piece in like an hour. And that's because the mix was okay. The mix was good. Like, you know what I mean? So if you got Ozone 7, use the mono button. If you don't have Ozone 7, once again, you merge all the way to the right, and then you are in mono. Yeah, is there anything else I have to say on this topic? I think that's everything. So I'm sorry, I've done a lot of talking in this, but this stuff is very important. I'll do a video, I'll get another little song up, and I'll show you exactly how to do it with Ozone 7, because this song, I've only got just that one growl just wobbling through, so it's kind of hard to show you the difference. Another tip, just one more quick tip too, clean wavetables. Oh, this is a different subject anyway, but clean wavetables, pick clean wavetables for your mix. So even though one wavetable might sound cool, if there's a little clicking in it or a little ringing and you can't get it out with EQ, then change the wavetable. Save yourself the stress. It might be annoying because you really like that growl or that wavetable, but just change it, because you will thank me later. But that's a different video. So sorry for the talking, but I hope you've listened, because this is very, very, very important. I'll leave a translation for my Spanish friends, so please give that a read. It's very, very important. Alright guys, peace out. I'll see you in the next video.